Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the tree. Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Hello.
Our main topic for this episode is going to be Logan, but first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking from Newburgh Brewing Company, who's definitely not sponsoring us right now. Their Jessica Sour Cherry Porter, which is aged in oak re-fermented on cherries. It's part of their Accidentally on Purpose line, which is a series of sour beers that they do, in which they had, I think it started with, they had, the very first one was on accident, and then they decided, let's do this as a thing. We'll set it up for it to be a sour fermentation, even though it's not planned.
Do you know how the accident came about?
I know Paul told me the story. That's Paul Haleka, owner of Newburgh, who has definitely not agreed yet to sponsor us with Newburgh. He told me the story at one point. I know they have it up somewhere, but it's not really that important. It's kind of like one of their little stories that's in kind of central to their whole thing. It's just kind of a cool thing. They have a couple of different ones. One of them is you can still hear that. Awesome.
It's quite all right.
That's yours.
Thank you.
So this one is 8.5% almost. From a pint bottle, which is awesome. Here you go. Accidentally on Purpose.
Looks like a wine bottle.
It does. Yeah, they have their special limited bottle releases are all doing these.
It's pretty sweet.
They have the cool fluted neck and stuff. So
if you've never gotten a chance to check out a Newburgh Brewing Company beer,
please do.
Their labels are the shit.
Yeah, it doesn't say on here. I always forget. The same person does all their labeling, both bottles and cans. So here, they actually have a little thing about the Accidentally on Purpose series. It's bottle-aged sour ales. This is from Chris Basso, the head brewer. I strive to be in control of every part of the aging process, but a portion is left to fate. I set this beer up for success. It's blended with the proper yeast and bacteria cultures. The ideal aging environment is created, and then patience is practice. Jessica is a porter aged and soured in wine barrels. An aroma of wine and cherries is followed by a full-bodied roasted flavor with delicate notes of fruit and a gentle tartness. Cheers.
Cheers. Damn.
All the game. Oh, you get the wine. You get the wine flavor in that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've never actually had this one before. But
I dig it.
I'm a fan. I've never had a dark sour beer before.
Little side story here with this cherry-ish beer. One time I got just real bad, real sick on cherry wheat Sam Adams.
Oh, okay.
And ever since then, anytime I taste anything cherry beer related, it's usually like
little Vietnam flashback.
But I think I'm back to good.
Okay.
So, but this is tasty.
Thankfully, I've never had the mispleasure of vomiting pure cherry.
The mispleasure. Now, question about the name. Jessica. Who's that? Do we know who Jessica is? Is it Jessica Cherry? Is it an homage to Jessica Rabbit?
I don't know if that was part of the origin of this. It doesn't say on here. And I've had this sitting in my fridge for a few months now.
So do some field work.
Yeah.
I'll
report back. Editor's note in the post.
I'll tell you right now.
Podcast.
Where it's not going to be is in the next 2 episodes. That's where people are not going to find it.
It won't be in the next 2 episodes after that either.
Fair. Fair. To give you a little rundown of how things are going.
It's a little insider trading there.
We don't get together every week to do this. That would be crazy talk.
Yeah, because Anthony decided to move an hour and a half away.
Whatever.
No, you can't win there. It's fine.
No, it's fine. So what we're actually doing is last time we released an episode 1 in 3 parts, and because we recorded it all on the same day, but now going forward, we're going to break it up a little bit nicer for you, have less of an abrupt ending.
Yes. We'll have an ending.
Similar to episode ending. 1, part 3.
Yeah, if you've listened to our Star Wars, and thank you for all 6 of you who's listened to the Star Wars podcast that we've had, that outro will be a little bit more similar to what we're going to have going forward.
Right.
Normal people.
Yeah. It's good. So let people know that we're signing off rather than just going, yeah.
Semi-professionals.
Either that or Kim screaming in the background.
But I liked that part. Mostly because I didn't think the microphone was going to pick her up.
You hear the freezer door close.
Oh, yeah. No,
That's funny. God. Hey, it's the pros and cons of a good mic.
It's a great microphone.
I heard that sip. If you weren't thirsty before, you are now. That was
Well, it's delicious. This beer.
It's very tasty.
This will not end around the same time as the ending of the episode. It'll be over way before that.
So, giving you Anthony's review here. Yes. Al,
take
it away.
For those of you who've had the privilege or whatever, torture, however you want to call it, of listening to our first 3 parts of the first episode, Anthony's reviews will be yes, good, or would drink again, or no, bad, I'm dumping this out. Or some variation of this.
I'm gonna go a little bit further with it this time. It's not just necessarily like would drink again. Would drink this again. Would not drink this a lot at a time.
Oh, it's
and I think
it's
fair. I think that goes with the name.
Yeah, well, especially at this point, I guess you don't drink a ton of beer, period, right? So this one's pretty aggressive. It's good, but this would be tough to like try and knock back a 6-pack of. I probably wouldn't do it either. So.
Oh, bringing it back to what we're doing with these episodes, we are going to have an actual ending for each episode going forward, but we still are going to record 3 or 4 in one session. So the quality is going to it's going to go down.
Well, I wouldn't say go down. It's just going to be different.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, I think it's going to be kind of a fun little mini game for those of you who listen.
Which one was recorded first?
Yeah. Where was this recorded? Oh, they're fucking wasted. Oh, this must have been the last session.
Guarantee you that's an episode 3 or 4.
For those of you who've listened to the Star Wars one. There you go.
Kind of like that.
Although the middle one was La La Land, and that's the one where you just flat out said, I'm drunk.
No, I couldn't speak.
Well, not well.
No, I was having issues.
Let's get to Logan. We've been doing this for too long.
Logan it is. So Al and I, part of our ritual is when we get together to record, we actually see the final movie that we're going to be discussing.
First.
Yes. See the first movie that we're going to be discussing in this set together, which is great because it's fresh in our minds. It's a little easier to talk about. You get those, especially with a movie like this, you get the excitement factor.
Yeah, definitely.
We're still rolling off the hype that movie had.
You're gonna get a lot of our fresh hot sizzling takes right now.
Right.
We're gonna try and do it for any of the ones that we view like that, especially new releases like this. We're gonna definitely do deep dive, which includes spoilers, but this time we're gonna try and give you guys a little bit of window dressing early on, give us your opinion on all of that. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, hopefully you'll want to after listening to all this.
Right.
And then we'll get into the nitty gritty. Any of
or
you
not
have seen it.
If it's a different movie.
Well, for this case, it's Logan.
We'll there.
You're going to want to go see it.
Yeah.
This movie was, to put it blandly, fucking awesome.
Blandly.
Oh, sorry. Was that not bland? Plainly, then.
Yeah. So we're gonna we'll let you know when the spoilers are coming before we get too deep into them.
Unlike Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, that was. You'll get the heads up.
Thanks, Michael James O'Connor, for pointing that out.
Dude. So moving on. Logan. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I thought it was fantastic.
Gut punch type of movie.
Oh yeah. Not a spoiler.
No.
Gut punch type movie.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer. It's the movie is it's dark.
You're not coming out of this the same.
No. You've changed.
You've changed. The world's changed, and so have you.
Yeah. Some pretty solid performances in there.
Oh yeah. I saw someone say something to this, and I totally back it up. It's a superhero movie, so who knows whether this will come to fruition. And also, it's tough with the Oscars were just a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I guess. Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart should be nominated for Oscars.
Christ, yeah,
they were both tremendous.
Specifically, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
who just absolutely crushed it in this movie.
Well, I thought early on maybe there wasn't so much, but the second half of the movie, Hugh Jackman, tour de force performance like that. He was
definitely.
And for a superhero movie to make you feel like that, make you care about the characters that much, where it's this, I'm buying in on him. I'm buying in on his performance and what's going on here. They're mutants, but they make you feel like, oh shit, these are real people, which I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah, that is the idea. There's the parallels there of intolerance.
Yeah. Oh no, that's definitely. Yeah. I think even from early on, I think Stan Lee has said that about the comics is that it was supposed to help because it was popularized in the 60s or 70s, right? Intolerances in society and everything like that, and it's so black and white, right? When it's that's not a pun at all. Humans, mutants, but they're just like you and me. They're not, but they are, and that's the whole point. Is seeing past the superficial differences, for sure. There's definitely, it's as relevant as it's ever going to be in today's society, the differences of mutants, humans, and how they're treated as opposed to all the different races, religions, etc. that there's so much strife right now. So this movie, perfect timing, honestly, from that standpoint, whether that was planned or not.
Yeah, absolutely. On the cast topic, this little girl.
Oh, yeah, Breakout.
Unreal.
I don't know how old she is in real life. I looked up on the IMDb earlier. It didn't say on there.
She's got...
She plays an 11-year-old girl in the movie.
Right, with very, very few lines.
Especially in the first half.
Yeah, and the fact that she went the entire...
Intentionally.
Yeah, like first half,
This is the slightest of spoilers.
It's fine.
This is going to happen, guys.
It's the fact that it went like half to 3/4 of the movie, like...
She doesn't say a word.
But with her delivering such a performance.
Oh, yeah.
So...
It's that visceral, like, emotional performance she delivers early in the movie when she chooses or not chooses to speak. You know, the character is delivered to us as possibly being unable to speak.
Right.
So,
But the gravitas that she has on screen is unreal. Like you can't wait for the scenes where she's back on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's not just to... I mean... Not just like for the action sequences and whatnot, because they did. I think those were pretty cool. They did a pretty awesome job at like making her out to be this incredible badass, as they showed in the trailers. But like every time, like you knew one of those scenes was coming, you were like peering around characters, like looking for her.
Yes,
and
they did a great job, like subtly delivering some of it, like her like walking out of a doorway.
Oh yeah,
with expectation, or someone panning the camera slightly around Logan. And she's standing behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that expectation of, well, what is this thing or this person that we're afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a little girl. Like, well, oh, okay. But, like what you mentioned, gravitas, I think is the right word. Like, for a little girl like that, to hold the camera, to hold your whole focus, it's pretty impressive. For, You expect it with someone like Hugh Jackman. Big, he's playing a big character, and he has... both the physical and the vocal weight on screen, right? But for this little girl who's not saying anything and is 4 feet tall, I mean, I don't know. To have that same kind of sense of something's gonna happen, right? Like, and you don't want to miss it. Yeah,
and it's that like sense of like it's not dread. Because you're not afraid of what she's going to do. You're real happy about it because...
It's anticipation.
Like, yeah, exactly. But it's... Al can teach you how to deal with that.
Oh, yeah. Check out the Spin Tune. There is an important story on how to deal with anticipation.
But, like... From the trailers, there's one... that sound is the beer actually fighting back.
Oh, yeah. This beer apparently doesn't want me to drink it.
Very beer fest fashion. But from the time those trailers dropped, where you're like... There's that scene that they do in the trailer where the main baddie sends someone in to go get the girl, and he goes in there, and then you hear gunshots, you hear a little bit of yelling, and then silence, and she comes out. And even though I knew that scene from the trailer, which we can get into this in a minute about that trailer thing, they changed it up just slightly. There was a little bit extra to it, which I'm not going to reveal just yet.
The anticipation. Which, by the way, I'm glad they did cut that out because that's something you're going to want to see on screen. Right. I didn't even notice at first the subtle difference.
Right.
With Pierce tells her to come out, and she obliges.
Yeah, the subtle difference like really makes it, and like you just like, oh,
it's happening.
Oh yeah, like this movie's not pulling any punches.
It's going on.
It's going down. But on the point of trailers, lately, I mean, it's been going on for a while now where the trailer is just too much.
Oh yeah,
too much of the movie, and I just
or outright lies. And we might have mentioned that in one of the other podcasts, I think.
Yeah, possible.
The Rogue One, because of how much the promotional material changed from when they did all the rewrites and reshoots. I think we talked about the differences in almost outright lies. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes not. I can give them a pass with that because they changed the movie.
Sure.
This one, I wouldn't call it a lie so much with that scene.
No, and I'm fine with that. I'm actually
that was smart
about. Yeah, there actually is a really nice tie-in with the Johnny Cash version of "Hurt" in the original trailer for this movie, or the teaser, I guess. And then, no spoiler here, the credit roll is
also Johnny Cash.
And it was a really cool way of of bringing it back around.
Full circle,
yeah, like because they don't play that song obviously in the movie.
Yeah,
but they play another one, and it all becomes part of the same story.
And it was really fitting for the tone. Like I didn't realize
absolutely.
I'll admit I didn't have a ton of hype for this movie. Like I didn't follow closely with the whole production. I was kind of kept generally aware of it because I just was never interested in the Wolverine movie. I saw X-Men Origins Wolverine. But late in this promotional cycle for this movie, I definitely got on board with like, yeah, we got to see this, and the early reviews obviously were like off the fucking charts. So but I didn't really realize, not having poured over how much it's supposed to be like a Western themed type of movie, and they really bring that home with them watching Shane. They're in a hotel room. This is not really a real spoiler. They're watching Shane, and Professor Xavier is explaining to the girl, Laura, it's not really her real name, I guess it's kind of the name they gave her, in the hotel room, explaining to her that Shane was this classic movie, how it had been almost 100 years ago, came out. The movie takes place in 2029, so it's a little bit distant future, you know. I thought that was a kind of a cool touch, you know, bridging that gap both in timeline and in like theme and tone of the movie itself, because I thought that was pretty unique, that this was more of like a Western type of movie. Like no other like superhero movie has been that at all.
Right.
And it was way different tone from any of the X-Men movies, period. So
yeah, in a really good way though.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean it as a knock on the movie. It's just like it was a legitimate surprise to me that it stood on its own so much.
My anticipation skyrocketed with that first teaser of the movie, and I'm glad that it held up to my expectations, and in many ways surpassed it, because even though I was excited for it, I've been bitten by X-Men before. Right? I mean,
which one in particular, or is it no one in particular?
Just in general.
Actually, you know, I still haven't had a chance to see Apocalypse. That's the one.
I didn't mind it. A lot of people were down on that one, but
I heard kind of mixed things.
Okay with it.
It's something I definitely want to check out, but not that it doesn't really have any bearing on this movie, right? Like it kind of this movie almost stands outside the whole greater universe of X-Men. They've had their own like inconsistencies and everything. Like the two Wolverine movies, while they want to lean on the greater X-Men like universe has been created, they don't really fit 100%.
Right, and I don't know if it's meant to necessarily fit directly into the films that are out there already. Like,
well, the best part is the whole running joke. Well, if you can call it a joke in this type of movie, about the X-Men comics.
Yeah.
They have kind of a nice out there where it's like, oh. He says, like, a quarter of this actually happened, and most of it was made up. They made up how it happened, like, you know. So, like, it kind of, I think that was meant to be a line, even not just to the comics that kind of, you know, so we won't talk about it now, but it's kind of central to the plot of the movie itself, but also to kind of say the same thing about the movies, I think, right? Like, it's kind of a nod, like, look through the fourth wall, like, we're all playing it fast and loose. Like, let's kind of the idea of, like, these are what they did with Mad Max, Fury Road, where it's like, this is a story.
It's the legend of Mad Max.
The legend of Mad Max.
Yeah.
This is kind of the legend of Logan, and all the other stuff may or may not have happened, or may have happened slightly differently.
It also lends itself to the way comic books are released in general. There are story arcs, and they go in different directions, and there's like
and how many times
different
they've rewritten
runs of the same, which is. It's funny because it's like in
an eighth Civil War now?
in a world of movies where like people are looking for sequel after sequel, or at least that's what production companies are trying to tell you.
That they're looking for.
It actually works really well with comics, because it's like the fan base is more accepting of that. Like it's like this one can stand apart in a way, or this one can go in a different direction. It's funny that you say that,
because it's like two sides of the same coin. Those same people who are quote unquote understanding of that are the same ones that bitch and moan when a new superhero movie comes out and someone's costume is. They tweak the slight. They're the same people.
Yep, that's a good point.
And no one makes a bigger fuss than them about it not being 100% screen to paper, you know, transformation.
Which it's like I don't want.
Like
that.
I get it to a certain extent.
I don't want it though. Like I want something different. There's
certain things.
One-to-one.
If Batman all of a sudden it's not a bat, it's a baseball bat. Like if it's a crossover between Batman and Negan, like that's gonna piss people off. You know what I mean?
Fair.
But yeah, like if it was goldenrod yellow and then it becomes daisy yellow, like Really? We're going to fucking lose our mind over that? Like,
right. Well, people are the worst.
Well,
Spintune.com. Find out more.
It goes without saying, fucking Spin Tunes.
So, back to the trailer. You said Fast and Loose in reference to something else, but Fast and Furious has been doing this thing with these trailers for, I think it was probably the past 3. One of the big things...
3 movies or 3 trailer releases?
3 movies.
Okay. So I'll try and follow along as close as I can, but
the
4th one is the last one I've seen.
That's fine. The thing with the Fast and Furious movies is that like there's always like a big thing that happens, like some cool, crazy, over-the-top...
blockbuster, iconic type scene.
Which is awesome. I love that. I eat it up. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, that's why they still have an 8th or 9th or 17th movie.
The problem is they're no longer a secret. They actually show every one of them in the trailer now, when it's really it really ruins it for me, because if you watch the Fast, whatever the hell the new one is called, what is it, the Fate of the Furious?
The newest one, I think so. Yeah.
Like there's like they're driving through the street and it's like, oh, phase 2, and a wrecking ball comes flying down and just wipes out a whole bunch of cars. And it's like, don't show me that right now.
Another scene, there's a submarine that bursts through the fucking ice cap.
Which like if you're gonna like. If you're going to do anything, show one of those things.
Not all 7.
Make it seem like, oh, this is the big thing, and then what in the hell?
I mean, they showed all of those, and then they show them in the middle of the street with the fucking thing where they shoot them with the harpoon gun.
Right. Oh, yeah. There you go. There's the other big thing.
Is there something else that we're going to get to see? Or should I just
probably not.
Should I just watch a supercut of all the trailers, and then you guys can give me another supercut of like 18 minutes of the movie, and then we'll put it together into a 20-minute thing, and like that'll be what I watch.
In the last one, there was the badass like chase scene on a big 18-wheeler type thing, and Paul Walker like ends up on top. I don't really remember, but he ends. It's like it's a really badass thing. It's like going off the cliff, and he like runs and jumps and grabs onto the spoiler of cars. It's doing a drift and like coming around the edge,
and almost just doesn't fall off the cliff.
Right, like completely like impossible in so many ways, but so cool to watch.
Which I never saw the movie, but I know what you're talking about.
But you know what I'm talking about. And you
trailer.
shouldn't know what I'm talking about. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the trailers.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And there were some cool scenes in the Logan trailer that I was worried about, but this is a movie that is not solely action. There's
action takes a back seat to
big deep story.
The story,
which is
one of the first times. It's not the first in superhero genre. It is the first in the X-Men series, though, for sure.
No.
Did you really care about the story in any other movies?
I really enjoyed Days of Future Past.
Okay, but that was different because it was a reset retcon type of thing, where it's like,
and First Class I liked a lot as well.
Sorry, that was what I was thinking when I was saying that. But like, where they're setting the stage for what actually happened. Well, we see Xavier walking around. He's been in a wheelchair. All I've ever seen.
Right.
How does he end up paralyzed? All that sort of stuff. So I get that, but really, it all doesn't matter because you know where it's going. This is the first time since the third one where, okay, where does the story go from here? We're open-ended on the back end. And I didn't care about the story of the third one. I mean, going in, maybe I did, but after I watched it, it's like that, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it does stand apart in that way where, like, the story is the most important thing in the case of this.
That's a better way to say it. The action is by far the backseat to the story. That's the first time that the story was way more important than the action sequences.
Mm-hmm. And just like so, there was so
and the action was
so
great
visual
too.
And great dialogue. I feel like, and it was just obviously delivery as we talked about. That the cast was fantastic.
And this movie is one where even the action scenes they give you, like, this is what Wolverine hacking people to shreds should look like.
Yeah.
Like, if you see 6 gigantic sharp blades tearing limbs and shit, there should be blood spraying everywhere. I get why they haven't done that because it's harder to market an R-rated movie when superhero stuff you want, kids, even if they're just 10, whatever, to be interested in. There was a lot of blood in this movie.
But, I mean, and I think it's fairly obvious, this movie doesn't happen without the success of Deadpool.
Probably not.
It doesn't. I can guarantee you that it doesn't happen.
I don't know,
but it doesn't happen like this.
Maybe. I mean, I can't tell you wrong.
I think
that certainly helps.
Yeah.
I don't know if it doesn't happen, but it was way easier to get done, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it happens. I don't think it happens this well.
Fair.
And I honestly don't think the movie ends up being remotely as good.
You need to see the viscerality of all of this, right? Like, you need to see the blood and the pain, both on Logan and everyone around him. Like, you need to see that to buy into where we're at this part of the timeline.
Because they're very much, it's like, it's not like they're not, it's not a comic strip. No. This is like, they're trying to be very serious about the story. And it's like, take us seriously right off the bat in that movie. And it's like, damn. Like,
and you take the weight of all of the story and the dialogue seriously, and the struggle and evolution of our favorite heroes who are now old and decrepit, or almost decrepit in Logan's case, when you see the toll that it takes on them and what it costs to get the job done.
Right.
You know, what it costs externally and internally, because you can see the weight of the world and the weight of all of the killing on Logan's shoulders, and he comes out and says it later in the movie. Right? That's the line he has to Laura is, you have to find a way to deal with the killing.
Right.
Which is, again, paralleling back the line from Shane that they show at the end of the movie.
Yep.
Which is Dave Mengel did a really good job with all these circles within circles and all this, keeping it thematically consistent. Like, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. So one of the other characters that I want to touch on is the baddie whose name escapes me. Was that his name?
The guy with the mechanical hand?
Yeah. Mechanical hand, which is probably what I would be calling him now if you weren't here.
Pierce. Yeah. I got you for Papa Doss.
Yeah, Papa Doss and Pierce.
Call back to episode 1, part 1.
This is he's basically he's got that hand from the latest Metal Gear game. What did you think about him?
I expected them to give us more of him. I mean, you know, he's kind of got the vibe of, like, he's the mercenary leader and this and that.
Right.
But he's got more importance in the story than that. So, ultimately, I then readjusted my, like, expectations during the movie, expecting to get more of him and his motivation, other than just that he was a company man, which it turns out he is. Mm-hmm. He is just a puppet, even though he's more central to the plot than it seemed like on the surface.
Yeah.
So I guess I was a little disappointed. Like, I thought he was interesting. I thought he was fine. But I was expecting more of, like, his motivation.
Right. So I agree with that.
Like, the storyline with
what
his specific involvement. We'll get more into that in the spoilers. Vis-a-vis how Laura's delivered to...
I would have liked more there. But my other thing is, at the same time, I didn't, because I didn't actually care for that performance at all.
I mean, I just thought he was fine.
And I don't know
that one certainly isn't up for, like, a nomination. Like,
yeah, and I don't want to knock him in general, because I actually don't necessarily know that it was the actor's fault in this. I think it
was an underwritten character.
It's more the writing, yeah. But anyway, that's...
And that guy, I think, is a decent actor. He was in Welcome on the Tombstones and a couple other things.
Okay. I haven't seen him in anything else, I don't believe. But to make this a full compliment sandwich on the cast, that was the sour note there. Caliban.
Stephen
Merchant. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really interesting character.
Not the character I was anticipating.
No.
Good performance. I've only ever seen him really in comedy roles, so seeing him in a more dramatic role playing kind of a long-running cynic was interesting. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
And it kind of speaks to Vince Gilligan, Breaking Bad. Some of the stuff that he's said, and I guess I've been noticing that he's right about it. People ask him, going back to Breaking Bad, and furthermore now with Better Call Saul, considering it's an ongoing project, right? Why he chooses to cast so many comedic actors in roles that are so serious. I think the guys who played Huel and Kubi, Bill Burr, and I forget the name of the guy who plays Huel.
Every time I see that guy, I just call him Huel.
They're both comedians by trade. Mm-hmm. Bob Odenkirk himself, who played Saul,
sketch writer,
sketch comedy. Him and David Cross, Mr. Show, stuff like that. Like, they're all comedy backing. They're good actors, right? Yeah. Like, well, I mean, you say how good Bill Burr is or not, whatever, limited role, but Bob Odenkirk is a great actor.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
tremendous.
Other people in Saul have showed up like that. And Stephen Merchant, I associate with comedy.
Right.
He's not only is he a comedic actor. I was looking at him earlier. He has writing credits too, for comedic stuff. Mm-hmm. So to see him carry that in, like Vince Gilligan's thing is that if you can do comedy, you can do anything.
Right.
Like when you think like, oh, the comedic actors typically don't make the jump well, like Adam Sandler, like stuff like that. Like they're guys who don't have another gear. Mm-hmm. They don't evolve, and like, you know, and a lot of the times they get like left by the wayside. Him, Eddie Murphy, like people like that. Like once their shtick ends, like we don't care about them anymore because they can't do anything else. But we're seeing Vince Vaughn. We talked about in the Hacksaw Ridge how good he was in that comedy guy, and he's trying to break that mold. He's doing it a little later in life than some other guys that we've mentioned, right? But yeah, I thought he did a good job.
One of the things, like on that same topic about comedic actors being like really great at actually doing other parts, nobody can deliver a sarcastic undertone the way that a comedic actor can, I feel like.
Yeah.
And in a serious...
And that was the role for this. He's
exactly.
got and it's the whole British thing too, like that's, almost like a fucking worldview for them, right?
right.
Like the whole cynicism,
just,
understated satire type of thing, like...
It's just... His deliveries for everything I thought were just fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that the last line we see of him on screen, I won't say why.
Oh, man.
What happens to him.
Oh, we're going to get into that a little
that'll
bit.
be part of the spoiler
What a
thing.
scene.
But the exact line was... be careful when you look into the light, right? I think it was almost exactly what it was. Like, that was great. It was a callback to a line he had delivered earlier in the movie as well to Logan in reference to himself. His mutant power was that he was a tracker, but one of the side effects of his mutancy was that he had aggressive albinoism, like to the point where the sun was actively burning his skin, like he was set on fire, like not just like a sunburn, like he was getting scorched.
Yeah, and like to judge a book by its cover,
and he's living in Mexico, so
a funny thing from the trailer itself is you had brought up to my attention earlier that you, before any of this, you actually thought that he was this character.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in trailers, but promotional material was billing him as a villain, which he's not. And I saw in the weeks
he's complex.
Yeah, but meaning like it seemed like I thought he was going to be like the mutant bad guy,
right?
Which is not what he was.
Right.
And it was only in the last couple of weeks before the movie came out that I saw that his role was of caretaker of. This isn't a spoiler, by the way. Like this is the beginning state of affairs. He's the caretaker of Professor Xavier when Logan is out trying to make them money to change their station in life at this time. With the situation is that mutants are nearing extinction. There hasn't been a known birth of a mutant in, was it 20 years or something like that they said? 25 years? Which seems wild considering where we last left off the series in its active run, like X-Men 3, there was more mutants every day. More than there was at the beginning of it, right? And it was Xavier's like chief calling in life is to find and assemble and train and teach and integrate all mutants, right? And now he's a man without a purpose to his own, extent, right?
Yeah.
And dealing with his own physical and mental debilitations at this stage of life, and he has to have a caretaker, which is a big change from where he had been in the other movies.
Really well done. The more I think about it, the more I enjoy it.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of like little subtle nuances to unpack on like repeat viewing and stuff. Although,
let's talk about repeat viewing.
As I was saying to Anthony earlier, this is the type of movie that when I walked away, I was like, "Fuck, that was awesome! Like that's a great movie." But I don't want to see it again anytime soon. I think it was because it was kind of the emotional drain and the toll. Like, it's a dark movie.
Right.
Start to finish. And it's a dark movie that takes place in a dark world, right?
Yeah, I think it there's a replayability for me there because I think the story overall, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind watching it over and over again where there's certain movies that I feel that way, where it is so dark that I'm like, I'm not going to watch this again for a while, or I'm not going to watch this again ever. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's just I don't want to go through that again because
well, and that's what I was saying earlier, and I think we'll talk about this a little more because there's some specifics I want to get into
right here
in the spoiler part, but I want to bring it up now too. Anyone who's seen the movie Children of Men, came out about 10 years ago, and it kind of seemed to have fallen under the radar a little bit with some people. It's Clive Owen, Michael Caine. I never know how to pronounce the guy's name. From 12 Years a Slave, and now he was in The Martian too. I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not even gonna say it. You know who I'm talking about. And there's a couple other people in that movie too, but the point is the tone and the themes in that movie are very similar to this one. And when I finally sat down to watch that a few months ago, for the first time, I walked away from that movie almost in the same headspace. Like, wow, that was a really, really good fucking movie. But I don't want to watch it again. Well, that one was more dramatic. I honestly don't know if I ever want to watch the movie again. Whereas Logan, I do want to watch it again, but I definitely need some space. You know what I mean? Like, I need some time.
Right.
Like, the fact that it'll take a few months for it to make a release onto, like, video and stuff like that is going to be good for me, because I'm not going to, like, it's not going to be Star Wars where I need to go back into the theater tomorrow and watch it again.
Right. before getting into spoilers,
Yes.
which is going to happen soon, and I think this next topic will end up leading us there, but again, we will warn you before it happens.
Yes.
The last thing that I want to touch on is the Munson family.
Why? Oh, the Munsons. Okay, yes.
There's this family of three, husband, wife, and their son. I'm not going to get into too many details, but
Chance encounter on the road.
Chance encounter on the road, but it develops the timeline, not the timeline, but the time frame of the movie in a really interesting way. Where
also a little indication as to the whole thing with like societal trends again. That's a little more social commentary.
And it was like it tackles some like complex things going on.
Well, it's funny because like when they actually I guess it was a little before they introduced them. There was an advertisement in the background. Logan's sitting in the bar waiting on a car that he was going to buy.
Right.
And there's a commercial for Canewood, which is this big conglomerate, like multinational corporation. And you can tell because you can only kind of hear it in the background and kind of see the cartoonish commercial in the background that clearly it's like GMO like crops food is like way more advanced then than it is now. It makes sense 13, 12 years from now, whatever.
Right.
And that ends up taking a bigger forefront in that kind of middle section of the movie, which is where the Munsons tie in because they are farmers. Mm-hmm. So we get a little bit of that back and forth banter between him and Logan about them being a self-owned farm that's getting squeezed out by these GMOs, and he's saying how the food tastes like shit, and this and that. I did think that was like an interesting.
It was cool, and there was like it's funny like there's a scene in the movie where you leaned over and you were like, those trucks have no drivers.
Yes.
And I had no idea what I didn't notice it.
You didn't notice it at
first, and then I started noticing it, and then obviously it played a role. But
there was a cool scene where they're driving on the highway and all the tractor trailers, they just sliced off like the whole cab in the front, and it had automated drivers, which we see like Uber's doing in Pittsburgh and stuff like that. So it was just the bed with the crates on top of it, and then like headlights,
right,
and like a little thing like with like the computer thing, and they had like a little buzzer if someone was in the way, like acting like a horn type of thing. Like it was a cool design, I thought, and like it is a cool. I don't know if that's only 12 years away or not, but I did think that was kind of a cool like little glimpse.
Yeah, and
it didn't look like a sci-fi society, right? But it was like you could tell there's advancement.
But it's funny. It's like it is that like sci-fi future, but not fully there yet. Like it's on the way,
and
like they're just
like
giving you like these little hints, like hey, like this is like take a look, like just enjoy this.
This could be us right here.
Yeah, this is what's going on.
It's not flying cars; it's much more grounded, realistic advancement for
which
that
I thought was pretty cool.
Definitely, no, I thought that was kind of a cool like little, and it was also none of it was in your face either. The way they did it, like it was just there. Like you didn't have someone like text dropping it, like where it's just like they give you a 10-minute spiel on this whole thing. Like, it's just there, and, like, you'll notice what's going on. It's like, oh, like, that's a thing. And it's subtle and, like, seamlessly part of the whole environment.
Right.
I thought that was really cool.
It was well done. Will Munson, the father.
Yes.
Did he ring a bell for you?
He didn't. Who was he?
Did you ever see Coming to America? Just let your soul glow. Alessandro. Oh, so silky smooth.
I'm not.
Just let it shine through.
You're asking the wrong BLC. My mom and my dad would probably have totally like been on board with that. I have seen the movie, but it's been a while, and like I've never sat through the whole thing all the way through. Now I'm gonna have to. That's funny.
He popped up on the screen. I was like, "Is that Daryl? That is Daryl." Anyway, if you've never seen Coming to America, go check it out. Fantastic comedy. Eddie Murphy crushes it.
The second Eddie Murphy. I didn't expect to talk about
Eddie Murphy.
Twice.
Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall. I say that repeatedly because they play multiple characters in that movie, and it's fantastic.
I didn't expect to talk about Eddie Murphy twice in Logan podcast.
Right. Now, I think it's time.
Time for the spoilers?
I think it's time for the spoilers.
Time to open the box?
And I'm going to... the first thing that I'm going to bring up has to do with the Munson family here.
Right, so we're going to say...
But I'm going to tell you right now, the next thing that I say after this is a huge spoiler.
So turn it off. We'll give you 2 seconds. All right, fuck you. We're doing it now.
Okay. Right before the Munson family gets entirely slaughtered.
Shredded to shit.
Somebody else gets taken down.
Oh my god.
And that is Sir Patrick Stewart. It wasn't for me. It wasn't just Professor X. It was Patrick Stewart getting killed, and it was heart-wrenching. And here's why:
It's not just
it's
that
the way they did it, and it's this beautiful scene. Like it's like he's like in bed and he's talking about how it's been such a perfect
Logan.
day. He's talking to Logan. It's been a perfect day.
Logan, wait, we should set you've seen it, with Logan. He's going and he goes and he does the thing with Will Munson, and he comes back and it's like, and I knew, not at first when he starts talking, but when you see him walking around, I was like, what is going on? You see his face for a second. I was like, what fucking hell are we in?
Right.
Because it's so clearly not Logan,
let's step through it though. So Charles is laying in bed. The little girl's sleeping on the floor next to him. He's having this conversation with Logan. The Logan in the room is how I'm going to put it. And he's talking about how he has had, it's been such a perfect day. He hasn't had a more perfect day in a really long time. And then he hits you with it.
I don't deserve it.
I don't deserve it. And this whole time you're wondering,
which, by the way, they never fucking
tell you. But I mean, so the whole time you find out that Charles has these seizures, and as he's having them, he's basically paralyzing everybody around him.
Within how far? 1,000 yards? Ridiculous.
It's pretty significant, and to the point where they can't move, and if it goes on long enough, I imagine they die. That's
considering
the intention
earlier
is.
in the movie, Caliban said I couldn't breathe.
Right.
And you saw that effect. You saw Pierce in the truck when he's downstairs. He looks like he's choking to death.
Right. And I'm gonna just go ahead and guess that he killed everybody, all the mutants.
I don't know if
that were at the school.
I don't know if you heard me when he said the Westchester incident.
Yeah, you said the school.
I said that's the school's supposed to be in some fictional town in Westchester, New York.
Right.
And then he says, "I don't deserve it."
Oh,
fuck! He killed
many
mutant
kids.
kids.
It went down.
He had a fucking seizure, and he accidentally killed so many mutants. And he said earlier in the movie, "Everyone's dead."
Everyone's dead, right? And that's the thing. I kind of figured something bad had happened, but when in that moment, it's you don't want to believe that it was this that did it.
Yeah.
But in that moment, you're oh, it was this.
Well, and also it's feasible, right? We're saying 25 years since a mutant's been born. It's been 20-ish years since things have been going to shit for the mutants in the world, so you could totally see losing a friend with each successive battle, whether it be real or kind of not, avowed or disavowed type of thing, where, we lost Storm,
right?
Oh, this time we lost Beast or something like that. And now my suspicion is, while that probably accounted for some of it, I think a lot of them, including fan favorites, all died in the Westchester the Westchester incident.
Which I don't know if that's if that has any sort of tie into an actual story in the comics. I've actually never really followed the X-Men comics, but
I didn't either.
That was a big gut punch right there.
Wrong person here.
And then walking you through a little further now on it, the Logan in the room puts his, and we'll clear that up in a bit, but puts his fist to Charles' chest. Gently, but then his claws come out right through his chest. And they give you this shot of his face for a second. Before he does it, and he's his head shaved. It's not bald, but
he's shadowed, and it's dark, and you can see it's clearly Hugh Jackman.
It's Hugh Jackman. It's Hugh Jackman with much shorter hair and a
buzz cut,
a buzz cut look. But he also is obviously younger. Look.
Well, the funny thing is, his beard was similar, but no gray.
No gray. And they also did a good job with the makeup, because they did a good job with the elderly makeup. It was easy, I feel for them to do the younger version of him as well. Now, when this happens, I'll let you walk through your experience with it in a minute. But
my experience was a trip.
This is how mine went down. So this happens. Hugh Jackman then puts his. I'll just call him Hugh. Hugh puts his fist on Charles' chest.
He was X-24, I think, right?
Right, but before we get there, he put his fist on his chest. He doesn't kill him at this exact moment. He does die from this, but he basically kills him with the claw, retracts it, and you see this younger looking Logan. And
because right after he does it, you get a better shot of his face.
My head is going into okay, this is a twisted dream. Charles is asleep right now.
That was one of my thoughts.
And we're finding out he's he dreams and has regret. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I was even wondering whether it's Charles's dream or whether it's Logan's dream.
Right. In my mind, at this point, it's Charles's dream. And then
I would have given more credence, but even in the back of my mind, I was it's Charles's dream.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Logan's dream.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on? Like,
so in that point in my mind, it's Charles's dream, and I was like, oh, like this is terrible. And then like things start to get worse and worse and worse, and then we realize what's happening, and that it's not actually Logan, and it's not a dream, it's a different one. And you're like, oh crap, they're breeding these mutants. They made another Logan, and then I was like, oh no, Charles has been stabbed in the chest, and I was like, they killed him, and they led me to believe for just a split second that it wasn't him, which kind of calmed me down for a second. But then you realize that it was him, and it made me so unprepared for the death of him. I assumed that he would die in the movie at some point, but not in that way, and not yet. Not yet. No. They took Grandpa away from me. That's what you were. That's what I said earlier. That's what I was worried about. I was like, no.
See, the funny thing was like, as it was like after we got past that initial shock factor of like, oh my god, he just stabbed the fuck out of him. Mm-hmm. Like he's not walking away from this. Not that he could walk anyway, but. Jeez. No, but I had the thought. Remember the last time we were doing this? I don't think we did it on the podcast, but the Matrix, not like this. Not like this. Matrix fans, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, that was like, okay, like, he makes a joke that he's over 90 years old, like, in the movie, you know, like, you kind of figure he's on his last legs, and once you see that he's got a debilitating, like, degenerative brain condition and all of that, like, you know, you expect it to be his last ride, for sure. But not like that. I did not expect that way. So my experience was pretty similar to yours, but even more than that, like, because I caught on, I think, fully before it happened, that it wasn't Logan, or that there was something off in all of that. So I had the same thing when he does stab him. It's like, oh god, it's a sick dream. Whose dream is it? Is it Charles? Is it Logan's? It's probably Charles. Mm-hmm. But not only that, even half a second before that thought, as he was stabbing him, because his last line before that was, he says the Westchester incident and how he doesn't deserve it and this and that, and he says to Logan, I think I'm finally beginning to understand you, because what if Logan had done something that I think it was he embraced going to help the family. I forget exactly. Mm-hmm. He did something because he had been telling him, surprisingly, that, you know, Charles has always been firm with him, but flat out calling Logan a disappointment, like 2 or 3 times earlier in the movie, right?
Right.
And he finally now says, I'm beginning to understand you. And he had just mentioned the Westchester incident, and he stabs him. And I almost wondered even if it was, oh, Logan's just had enough of your shit. You know, your seizure almost killed everyone at the Oklahoma City in the hotel. Ultimately, it worked in their favor, right? Because it gave Logan, he was the only one who could fight off the effects of that time-bending shit and get upstairs and save Laura and Charles, right? But he had that seizure because he was purposely not taking the medicine that he needed to take, that Logan was fighting tooth and nail to get him that medicine. He finds the capsule buried in the seat cushion in the car. He's put this family in danger. He made them stay over a night, you know, and it's like, you knew the fucking Munstons were going to die, because that's how this always goes, right? Like, you stick, we can just relax for 2 seconds. Well, no, Calvin's tracking you. You know they're going to fucking catch up to you. Like, in Logan even says it, like, you know what we're doing is, like, these guys are going to die. Like, he doesn't say it, but he says it, like, and then finally bring up the Westchester thing, and like we were saying, oh god, how many mutants did he accidentally kill with that seizure? And I'm wondering if Logan's finally just like, it's time. Not in anger, per se. That anger was the impetus for him finally to make the decision, but that this was a long time coming. Yeah. For half a second, I did have that thought, like it's time. And maybe even like in X-Men 2, I just happened to see it on TV the other day, where he's at Bobby's house, and the brother calls the cops, and he sees them in the background. I was wondering even if he sensed that they were right down the road, and there's no way I'm ever going to be able to load you into the car, and me and Laura need to escape. Yeah. So, rather than leaving you to your fate, I'll put you out of your misery. Like, that was even, like, a consideration. Or, almost like, this is the most perfect day. Let's go out. Let's end on your perfect day. Yeah. And also because you're going to hold us back. And you keep telling me that the one thing you want to do in your last days save this little girl.
Yeah.
And the best way for me to do that is to cut the excess baggage, unfortunately. And that ultimately wasn't it, right? It was X-24.
Yeah, and you find out that is not in any way a thought that had ever crossed his mind. Because this movie has a lot of powerful moments, but one of the most powerful ones for me was when
loading him into the pickup?
No, it's when he gets up to the bed and he said, I didn't do this.
Oh, because he sees that he's still alive. And
I was like, no, I know you didn't.
You know in his mind, he's worried that Charles is going to freak out seeing him pick him up.
Does Grandpa Chuck know?
Does Grandpa Chuck, yes. Right, that, and it's funny because the emotion in that sequence wasn't there for me because it was the shock and adrenaline. I was sad, but I didn't have, sad wasn't the first thought or feeling in my mind. It was, oh fuck. It was, holy shit, there's a new, better, improved Logan fucking shit up and murdering everyone in this house. By the way, we had heard about this rumored X-24 that was the next level in the whole experimentation. We found a bigger and better mutant soldier. We haven't known who or what it was until now. And oh my god, it's also Hugh Jackman. Yeah. It's new, better Logan.
Yeah, that was actually, and that's another crazy thing. So you have...
Great reveal.
You have Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, fighting Hugh Jackman playing a robotic Hugh Jackman playing Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And it's just it's crazy that the two of them are fighting. And really, really well done with the special effects there of making it really feel like it was two separate people fighting. No
matter how many times they do that, because they've been doing that for years, right? Yeah. No matter how many times they do that, one person playing the same person fighting each other. Yeah, I'm still impressed by it.
Yeah, it was great. It was the way they did the cuts and that you're not looking directly at both of them at the same time, and even if you are for a very split second, we've gotten so far.
Even normal special effects that aren't two people on the screen at the same time who's the same person, every once in a while you'll catch that was clearly the stunt double,
right?
And it's funnier. It's actually funny in movies where they almost purposely do that.
Yeah.
Like I think of in Beer Fest when they're having the fight scene on above the beer, and he's fighting the black woman who's and he's beating the shit out of her, and then they cut to a scene of him doing the hockey fight style where he pulled the jacket over her head and he's punching her, and it's clearly a man who's half her size.
Right.
It's clearly not that woman anymore. Right. But no, when they can seamlessly do that, even when it's not trying to do the same person twice, it's just the way that effects are now is incredible.
Yeah.
But they did a great job with the two of them on there. Although I did think, fast forwarding to later in the movie, there was no payoff to the line that Pierce had earlier, where that fight scene's going on, and Dr. Rice says to I think that was his name, right? Dr. Rice was saying that he wanted Pierce to stop him, and Pierce says the only problem with that is you're the only one he listens to. Mm-hmm. And later in the movie, when Logan kills Pierce, or not Pierce, when he kills Rice, there was no payoff to that. I was wondering if that was going to come into play, because it seemed like they set that up. Right? Why would Pierce say he would just go and do it? Unless later Pierce was going to want to call him off, and he couldn't. Right. We didn't get that payoff. And it doesn't really matter. It just seemed like an odd loose string there. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know if you caught that or not.
I did. Honestly, it's funny. It's they're the bad guys in the movie. They're not nearly as important as the rest of the story, and it's just a necessary evil that this thing that has to be chasing them for them to push them forward.
The enemies were more of a plot device.
Yeah.
Whereas the real enemy was kind of it's an us versus them or us versus the world type of thing, which is kind of cool. It was kind of interesting. I guess that probably led to why Pierce and Rice were a little underdeveloped, as we were saying earlier.
Right. Well, and then on that same thing, so I did hate them. Right. I hated them to their very core, especially that Pierce guy.
Yeah.
And
Robot Hand.
To the point where when Hugh Jackman shoots his hand and it breaks, I was like, fuck you. Kill him.
That was
and
cool.
Then they took it 20 steps further, and all of the little children mutants,
oh yeah,
they don't kill him. They mutilate him till he dies.
They gang raped him.
Oh my god.
They mutant gang raped him with their powers, essentially.
And I was just I was like...
It was a little medley of all the things.
I didn't even feel bad about feeling good about it.
No,
it was all...
I was like, oh, how's this going to turn out?
They just
they're murdering him
him
with blades of grass and a little bit of ice? Awesome.
Yeah. And then like I loved like they.
And then when the fat little black kid.
Oh my god, he was
him
great.
running in the woods was hysterical.
It was.
And it was.
It was also.
I want to talk about it later, but when he's holding the Wolverine action figure.
It was hysterical, but it was also heartbreaking because it was just like, it's just how I pictured myself
running
through the woods when I was there.
He was
I can't get away
he was
from
so
anything.
Round.
Yeah, it's just like
he was a little meatball.
It's like when you're playing tag and you're just it. You know, I feel him. I get it.
Anthony, do you have something to tell us?
No, that was it.
Is this bringing back childhood memories?
Oh yeah. I was a fatty, is what I'm saying. But okay, so about that same character, he does this. You're wondering like this kid's got like a cool bit of bravery to him, right? And they like do little hints of him throughout. They did it earlier on where they were showing you clips of the kids in their cells at this research facility.
Yeah.
And they don't show you. They show you some of them doing things. Mm-hmm. They show you him. They don't actually show you him doing anything, but you do hear electric static.
Did you? I think I missed that.
There's a little bit of like a zap, and I was like, oh, interesting. And then there's the scene where he's sitting next to the Humvee, and there's a guy in the gun. And when he realizes everything's going down, he just electrocutes that guy by just shocking.
He was the first one to take action when all the little kids are getting.
And I was like, damn! Like, this kid is the shit! Like, this is awesome! And then between him and then the one that used nature to just rip a human being apart. When
brutal. She murdered two people with pine cones and then also used the pine cones to tear him into shreds?
Yeah. There's nothing left of that man.
No.
Unreal. That was crazy.
Just a stain on the carpet.
Oh.
Of pine cones. Pine needles.
That was great, though. And those little kids were great. All of them. Like it was cool. It was a cool thing. Like with them like running through and like fighting back.
No, they held their own with as just little kids. Like
now let's touch on that on our old friend, little chubby black kid with the Wolverine.
Oh my god.
Electric Man.
Electric Man.
Electric Man holding his electric yellow Wolverine.
Yeah, because their names were like kind of like ridiculous, and also like they didn't really like have names considering they were born. I was almost gonna say born in captivity, like zoo animals. Although they kind of what they were, right? They were lab rats. They weren't. They had the video where the doctor is saying they're not people, they're things, they're investments, they're property, which is like, fuck, wow.
Yeah. Just more of the reason I want you all to get murdered.
Yeah, right, like. And that was actually was that Rice too? Because that was the first time we might have seen him on.
That was Rice.
Was that Rice?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was like, and she was the thing where she was reciting all their names, and he's reciting the names, but he doesn't remember any of the names. He remembers like one of them, and then it's just and blah 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 blah.
That was a moving scene too, where she's repeating the names of the people that she's. The
first time we know she talks.
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
What was the first thing that she said?
Donata.
Yeah. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You've been fucking being able to talk the whole time.
Just them yelling back and forth at each other.
She punched him in the face.
That was great. And it was like a sucker punch. It was just like bop.
And you go, don't hit me.
Yeah. Oh my god.
You know the funny thing about that too, though, right? Like she punched him in the face, and he says, "Don't hit me." He didn't want to fight her.
Yeah.
Like, not just because she's a little girl. I think he was a little scared.
Yeah.
Because like he's like this.
Because she's straight up terrifying.
And like, well, but like you can see, like at this point, like clearly the toll has been taken on him. Like he wakes up in the doctor's office, and like this and that, and like he knows he's dying of adamantium poisoning, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, but I think there was like a fuck. I don't want to like do the disciplinarian thing of being your father. That I'm probably your father, even if you are a test tube kid. And like disciplining you or spank you like you've never had an actual parent.
Right.
Part of it's because I just can't deal with you shredding me with your tiny little adamantium claws right now. Because you totally will.
Right. Oh my god. So, real great. Like, let's talk about fan service for a second there. In the beginning of the movie, he tears the guys to shreds that are taking the wheel off his tire.
Yes.
First off, why was he overprotective of the car just because that's how he was making his money?
Yes, and he said it's rental.
Okay.
So it was a bigger thing. Like if it was his, he would have just passed it off. Like, oh yeah. But I think he didn't want to have to pay the damages.
Got it. So
also, I think he was just disoriented and drunk and passed out. He was sleeping in the back of the car.
Yeah. But when they eventually jump on him and they like hold him down and like he just like enters like that like berserker mode.
The danger zone.
That is like that's the awesome Wolverine. Like when you're a kid watching, like you're just like, yeah, like oh my god, like this is happening.
Oh, his clothes are in that guy's skull.
Happening in a real movie right now. This is happening, and then he just starts ripping people apart, and you're just like,
oh, his claws are in that guy's skull, and also out the back of his skull.
And this is like the first. This is the first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
So, which is really great for
setting
the tone, and you're just like, oh,
that's
it's this Wolverine. I like it. Oh man, but going from the beginning then to the very end, because we're gonna go back to the little kid holding the Wolverine figure, and that was at the gravesite.
Wow.
That was at the Logan gravesite. Bring it up, bring it back down. That's what I'm gonna do for you right now. Tragic. The tragic ending.
Wow. And again, like we said with Charles, it had to be in your mind that it was a possibility. Like he said, this is the last one he's foreseeably doing, barring a possible team up with Deadpool. I think both of them have said that if there was a way to work either of them in Deadpool, that they would consider doing it.
Right.
Not necessarily being featured.
Which they did with the Hugh Jackman face stapled onto his face.
Oh, that was funny as shit when I saw that. I was not ready for that.
Yeah. And the other crossover would be.
Do we want to get to the little Deadpool thing first?
Yeah, let's get into that
because I feel like we're gonna have to finish strong.
Sure.
Okay.
So with the Deadpool thing, the movie opens with the new teaser for Deadpool 2.
Yes.
With
great little the smallest of tie-ins that Logan is on screen behind.
It's on screen, and also in the alley. It's the movie poster, like the movie poster of his hand down.
Oh, was that one? It was
things? Also.
There was something else I noticed. Fuck, I can't remember what it was. There was one of the shots in there. There's a poster on one of the windows, and it was like something that like I caught it in my mind, and I don't remember what it is now. But I meant to ask you or mention it to you, and I don't remember what it is now. Which, fuck, whatever. Go on with what you were saying.
Yeah, well, no, that was really it. Like there's your other tie-in. Is like not only it was before the Logan movie, but they probably wanted to keep their tone very specific. I feel like
yes.
So they did this beforehand, just to I feel like it's a nod because, like I said before, this movie doesn't happen without Deadpool.
Yeah,
and then they've
also had some horse trading with all of that.
Yeah,
because Deadpool is an X-Men, is part of the X-Men universe. And that we have Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, right?
Teenage what the fuck?
Well, I mean, some of his jokes surrounding her were great. Like the one about her...
Sinead O'Connor.
That was it. Oh my god, I fucking cracked up the first time I saw that. Like, that was a good movie to see. Like, I saw that with like a group of people.
Yeah.
Too. Like, that was funny as hell. Like, I have to make sure... Hopefully those fuckers are going to listen to this one, but I got to make sure that like we all go see Deadpool 2 together. Because,
right.
We had a good time with that. But yeah, no, I mean, they've had some horse trading with all that because remember in Deadpool he keeps not saying like any of their names.
Yeah.
And he's making like jokes about how like it rhymes with Schmolverine, like this and that. So that's why I guess it's good indication that they're moving closer.
Yeah.
Because they were very like on edge, like kind of tiptoed around it in the first Deadpool, but the fact that they actually have Logan in this thing, in this promo for Deadpool, I would assume means that they're working. Not that it'll be a part of a coherent universe, but that they'll more freely trade characters. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Which I think is good because they can't exist in the same space. I feel like.
Tell me you wouldn't
with this
love,
being so serious.
Tell me you wouldn't love end of Rogue One type of scene where Logan and Deadpool are fucking shit up for 90 seconds together.
Oh my god!
Like if we could just get that. Like I get like if
cool.
he doesn't want to be Wolverine, like fine. Yeah. But you can't tell me that we can't get like a Expendables Chuck Norris. Like
I think you can get that in the second Deadpool. You can't get it in the end of this movie.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like in Deadpool 2,
I see
like if we can get a Wolverine cameo where he's fighting alongside Deadpool and like he walks off and gives him a middle claw, like fuck you, middle finger thing. Like you can't tell me you can't give me that for 90 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm not greedy. I don't need him to be featured in the movie. Like just you can't tell me you can't give me an action scene with the two of them.
Right.
Hell, I would even take a 10-second clip that was like a flashback to one time they were fighting together. You know what I mean? Like you can't tell me you couldn't get Hugh Jackman on set for one day to film that scene. Like.
Yeah, I feel like he would. I mean, I don't know. Why not? Just do it.
Like,
we'll love you. We'll love you forever.
Ryan Reynolds will love it. Hugh Jackman should love it. The fans are gonna love it. Like, it's gonna be great. And that's fan service done right. You know what I mean? Like,
now, so the the teaser was awesome, obviously, and like it was just really silly. If you want, go check it out online. Actually, I would.
There's multiple versions.
Yeah, well, it's not that there's multiple versions. It's just longer cut. It's a longer cut, the one that I shared with you.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just extended. But though I would say watch the one online just to get that extension. Especially if you see the one with Stan Lee, then you know you've seen the one.
Yes, because that was part of my. That was like probably my favorite thing
in
the thing.
That was so funny.
Not now.
Yeah. But here's an interesting thing that I thought of.
Well, he wasn't.
Is this
he
why?
He wasn't in Logan.
No, he wasn't. Not that I realized, unless he was subtly there. That I didn't notice.
Because that's never that subtle. I don't think Stan Lee was in Logan.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But so in Deadpool, he makes a joke when he goes to the mansion, and there's only 2 of them in there. Is Charles the reason there's only 2 of them?
Oh,
what?
No, but that.
Charles killed them all.
As funny as that is, well, one, I imagine that anything that he did that killed all of them would have been the mansion's not standing anymore. So no, I think that doesn't really add up. With the timeline. No, because you imagine
this is really funny if that was the case.
Like if Logan had come out before Deadpool, that's making it into the final cut of the script, right?
This
is what Winchester looks like now.
Yeah, if Deadpool 2 comes along, he's like, I call in some backup, but Charles killed them all, or something.
I'm just thinking, calling the Xavier Mansion, but getting a busy signal. It says this number's out of service. I wonder why that is.
Oh my god.
So back to the end.
The end
of Logan.
Oh my god.
So you asked me in one of our earlier episodes, or earlier parts of the first episode, rather, about what the most recent movie that made you cry is. I can't say that I have an answer for you for that, but I did find it odd that it felt like there was a lot of pollen inside the movie theater on a cold March day, because my eyes started watering, or maybe I caught a little bit of the jalapeno from breakfast, because
Al teared up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I
Al.
didn't cry, but
you weren't sobbing.
I wasn't sobbing, but I'm not going to say there wasn't a tear that maybe escaped the corner of my eye while he's on that log talking to Laura. Mm-hmm. Oh my fucking god.
What was it about the scene? Was it the whole thing? Was it the fact that she calls him dad or daddy? And I was just like,
it was like,
stop this right now.
Like it started with that uncomfortable feeling you get,
yeah,
like in like your head and face area. It's like where it's like, oh, I might tear up.
Yeah.
And then it's like that stinging in the eyes, and then it's the, you have to run with your friends, go now, and it's like, the light's looking really weird around the corner of my eyes here. It's almost as if there's tears distorting the light, and then it's Dad, and it's like, oh god, and then it's, the last line he says, oh, this is what it feels like.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
Wow.
So that did it for me too. Like that line, I didn't end up tearing up during this movie.
I did.
But that line hit me. The line that I told you about earlier with Patrick Stewart, Charles, in the bed where he said like, this wasn't me, or like, it wasn't me.
Yes.
That hit me harder than that particular line. But then at the very end, bringing the character back to her mute self. Not that they had to, it's just that she wasn't speaking in the scene where like I feel like her delivery when she's completely was mute was like fantastic. But when she pulls the cross out
and lays it over onto an X,
like turns it so it's an X and places it down. That's when I got the little, like just a little
shudder, a little bit of
and then
quivering,
and then to really just knock you out. Logan.
Yes.
I was like, oh my god, the movie just ended on me. It was rough. And then, like, it was one of those movies that when it ended, for a second I looked over you to say something, but there were no words. No. At this point, it's just like, you know what? And I'm watching the credits roll.
Just listen to a surprisingly upbeat Johnny Cash song.
Yeah, it's the man, what is it? I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
but
I'm not a big
I recognized
Johnny Cash,
it. But then, like, the credits are rolling, and I just, like, you asked me if there was something at the end of the movie, and I'm like, probably not, but...
Fuck.
At this point, like, we're gonna sit through the entire credit roll.
I'm not sure if I can stand
honestly,
right now.
I can't. I'm not moving. I'm not moving just yet. I'm not ready to part with this. But that was just that just
through it.
Boom. The cross comes up. Boom. Turns into X. Places it down in. slight, like maybe like 2 seconds, and then the screen.
She starts to walk off to follow her friends. And that's what we were talking about with Shock Kid, Shock Boy. Holding the classic 90s era Wolverine action figure with the yellow with the covering his like fanged hair and shit like that, like, and he's like clutching it too, and it's like
so good.
Oh my god.
So good. He in that moment was how everybody felt. Just holding on to Wolverine a little bit longer.
And it's funny because I've enjoyed the X-Men, like X-Men 1 and X-Men 2, like I really like those movies when they came out. Like I've watched both of them a bunch of times, like they're always on FX and stuff like that. Like X-Men 2 is a really, really good movie. And it's funny because at this point I do think of the X-Men movies outside of the whole conversation about superhero movies, even though they're clearly a Marvel property or were, whatever. But like when someone says superhero movies, to me, you're either talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe or DC Extended Universe. You know what I mean? Like that's what in today's movie landscape, that's what those things are. I never expected being connected. Like I've enjoyed Hugh Jackman's done a great job as Wolverine. I've enjoyed the character. I've enjoyed the movies, but there was a bit of what that emotion for me was not fully realizing how good he was and how attached to the character I was. You know, like that brought it home for me. Like this was his final masterpiece. And it was a completely different Logan. Most of it, like he still had the rage, and the quips.
But like he gets that he has real emotion, like positive emotion at the end of the.
But making it, he was more than just an object. He was a person. Like he was an object of rage through most of the first few movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like his purpose was to show the worst and most ferocious in people and what unrelenting fury can do in the most desperate of circumstances, right? And now he's a person, and it was him realizing he's a person and us realizing he's a person at the same time.
Right.
Because I don't think he thought he could be a real person until he was willing to lay down his life for his maybe daughter.
Yeah. Ah, man, it was that good. There's it's just such a great, just a real powerful ending.
Yeah,
I love that, and it was like because it wasn't just the
that movie's a roller coaster, man.
It is a roller coaster, and it's not just it's not the fade to black on the movie. It's like the fade to black, but it's like also the curtain dropping on the last performance.
Yes, the last Logan,
and
the last Charles.
Also, what could not have been better.
No,
like that. I was just like,
I don't know if there's a better send off, and we talked about La La Land, and I didn't tell you, did I, that my parents watched La La Land, and both of them had the same reaction. I hated the ending. And I'm like, grow up.
Yeah.
I told
a lot of people hate
my nearly 50-year-old mother and over 50-year-old father, I told both of them, grow up.
Well, it's not all sunshine and roses.
That's almost exactly what I fucking said to them, because my dad has had this thing forever. Like, I went to see Shutter Island with my dad and my brother, and he's like, I didn't like it. The ending sucked. It was too dark and depressing. And I was like, I mean, yeah, it was dark and depressing. I didn't love the movie. Like, it was good, fine, whatever. Like, it was like a good, solid movie. Like, the ending I thought fit more or less. Like, it was sad or whatever. He's like, no, I don't like going to watch a movie and like it makes me feel shit at the end. Like, I was like, but life is shit sometimes. Like, and like it was a real ending, right? Like, and the same thing with La La Land. And my mom was like, I just don't get it. And I was like, well, first of all, listen to the podcast.
We got you covered.
Second of all, it's the whole point of La La Land is to break down the false look at Hollywood being all sunshine and daisies and perfect happy endings, right? Like, that's the point, is it's not always like a happy ending. And the ending made sense. And the same thing with Logan, like the curtain like falling on this whole thing is like, man, it sucks and it's sad and like they're gonna hate it because it's like it's sad and depressing, but it's like the dude's 170 years old, he ended the way he needed to.
For me, seeing that, I'm just like, I like different endings to movies, and like for me, like that, like knowing that it's like the end.
Like it's nice to have happy endings.
Yeah, but I like something like that though, knowing that it's the end, like, and that it was done so well that it didn't leave me wanting more. It left me being like, oh, like this is a good place to stop. I don't know. I was happy with that.
Well, it took 170 years for him to realize that he was a real person. It took us 17 years to realize he was a real person, and when the final curtain falls, both of us know. Yeah. He was a real dude, and he finally got it. Like, you know what I mean?
So, to touch on two things that I wrote down here while we were talking about this. One, the a lot of like the cool callbacks, like the random like little things, like the subtle callbacks and things like that. One of them being Charles when he's like rambling on early on the first time you see him.
Yes.
And he says something about the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but it wasn't that. It's not what he was referring to. He was referring to like whatever this vision is that he had of the Statue of Liberty, which was like the Liberty Hotel or Motel, which is where the girl was. Did you not pick up on that?
Oh no, it isn't.
So like when he looks up at it, it's Liberty, and like some of the letters are out, but it's that's where.
Yeah,
I just
read it as like a true like straight thing from like the first movie, like
yeah, which I think that's the intention of, but then
that it was dual meanings.
Yeah,
like,
and then
yeah, no, I didn't pick up on that actually.
And then when like you see like the what put it together for me like that's what he was referring to. I thought they just did it at first, but then he was like, "This is the girl, like this is the one that I was telling you about," or something like. He said something along those lines, but he's clearly been like either like communicating with or seeing this person through.
Well, you saw there was that one scene when he goes to sleep.
Yeah,
and his lips are twitching.
Yeah,
so he's talking to her.
Yeah, it's so that was so well done. And now that we are in obviously crazy spoiler land, we do need to touch back on Caliban.
Yes.
And his final scene on screen.
Oh, yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
I'm just going to let you run with it because like, I've got nothing but just like, it's one of those things like I can't even say, it was just so great.
Yeah, no, so like you said, like his whole complexity as a character, because we get introduced to him and he's kind of got like he's the housekeeper and he's kind of there against his will. And
also like this really weird like mom and dad like bickering.
Well, yeah, like husband and wife. Like,
I'm sorry, husband and wife.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I don't mean to nag, but
like
he literally says that,
And then like the fact that he like set him up and he like threw him a bottle of aspirin.
Yes.
And like to try to explain to him that like you're reading the he's
label,
like look at the
and he shows up with glasses later with the tag still on.
God,
oh, that was great.
So good. I know if you haven't watched it and for some reason are still listening to us right now.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't. You're not getting any of this. But if you did see the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, Brian. But if you did see it, you know exactly what we're talking about. And you feel the same way. You're like, oh, that was so good.
Yeah,
it was so good.
No, it was interesting because you get introduced and it's like, oh, well, I'm not gonna like Caliban that much. Like he's just he's there and he's nagging and Charles, the albino one, as if he doesn't know who he is. Like there's no way he would have been there helping them if he didn't have a history with them to some extent, right? And we know that like as Pierce says when he captures him, like you worked for us for a long time. You helped us round up the mutants. Like he's got a dark past and is clearly spending his remaining years trying to do right, and by him that means to protect Charles Xavier, who has spent his whole life protecting others, including himself probably. We don't know that for a fact. I don't know that if in the comics he was or not, but and I thought it was interesting, like there was like depth and there was like pain behind that character, right, where he's motherly to Logan and to Charles, and he's clearly out of his element, right? Logan tells him to go drag Pierce down, to the ditch and dump him. And why didn't he just put a bullet in his head right then to have that all backfire on him, right? Why? And it shouldn't have even been an option. Logan should have killed Pierce when he told him to dump the body.
Right.
Like, why did he just kick him and like leave him knocked out? What good was going to come from leaving him alive? Was it going to be a bargaining chip later? Like, hey, I could have killed you and I didn't.
Yeah. I think it lends,
and that's ultimately the downfall of them.
It does lend to his comment later on with the girl.
I guess you could be right about dealing with killing. But
yeah, he doesn't do it unless he has to. But
he has to know. He has to know that's a death that needs to happen for them to. And it ends up with Caliban's torture.
Right.
Capture, torture by putting him in the sun. God forbid, but he's so albino apparently, and he's coerced into doing that thing again. But then the doctor says, "Oh well, maybe you're supposedly helping us, but maybe you're purposely leaving us a step behind." Right. And he says the line to Pierce, right, about being careful looking into the light early in the movie.
Yeah.
Or did he say to Logan?
He said it to Pierce.
That's what I thought when they first capture him, and he says.
Or to ask him, like, what did your mother used to tell you, or something like that when you were younger? Like, would she say things like, be, like, careful of the light or something like that?
Yes. And then he shines the UV rays on him and it burns him. And then at the end, when they're at the Munson farm and everything's going to shit and they're all dead or dying. And by the way, great job by Munson coming back from the dead, basically. To fucking impale the shit out of
That was
X-24.
dope.
Although he then was gonna finish it.
In my mind, I was just like, oh, like somehow the little girl got out of her shackles and she drove this truck into him. Did not think that it was.
I wouldn't have been terribly surprised either.
Munson.
But I guess it was
Mr. M.
Mr. M. He looked like he was going to finish the job, though, and kill Logan, too.
Yeah.
He pulls the trigger and it clicks. But so then, after all of that, Caliban has his last act of defiance and his last act of help for Logan, pulling the 2 grenades, and I totally saw that coming.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to do something. I didn't know what. Because you could see they were showing the corner of, like, the image of one grenade at one point before he does it. But you don't get enough of the picture to necessarily tell what it was. And then after that, you see him reaching for it. And he grabs the 2 grenades. And I was like, oh, wow, that's...
I'm pretty sure they do that in the trailer. Or too much of it in the trailer. And
I don't remember
what
seeing
made
that
it for
one.
me was the line. That's what made the scene.
I don't remember seeing that in the trailer. But again, I told you I didn't see all of them. So I may have missed that one. But yeah, that line, he says to Pierce as his last...
It's whatever that line was.
His last
from,
fuck
it was
you.
just a complete recall. No other words. Click.
Be careful looking into the light.
Oh, and the grenades, and then he just blows it the hell up, and it's so good.
And we forgot about it. I mean, how emotional the scene was when because it was right after that when Logan buries Charles.
Yeah. Oh my God, that scene.
And that was the first time we kind of saw her humanity as well.
Yeah.
Where she walks over and grabs his hand as he's struggling because their dream was to get the boat right. Which that was. Did you get a Of Mice and Men vibe with that? They were going to go buy this boat. They're going to go buy this boat. They're going to go buy this boat. He's telling Logan, or he's telling Charles, we're going to get this boat. And then his last thing was, tell me about the, basically tell me about the rabbits.
Yeah, tell me about the boat.
Tell me about the rabbits. Because how was that going to work out?
Yeah, that's so true. I didn't think of that before.
I thought about it. It was only when Charles was dying that I thought of it. It was never going to work out because where were they going to get the medicine to keep him from having the seizures?
Right.
He was going to have a seizure somewhere down the line and kill both of them out at sea accidentally.
Yeah.
Right? Like that plan was never going to work.
Well, either that or like
was he going to get a lifetime supply of it before he leaves?
That might have been the idea, or the fact that like Logan probably can withstand it to whatever extent, and eventually he'll pass.
But he still needed the other drug to end the seizure.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know, or if it's to end it immediately. It wasn't clear. It might just eventually pass.
It might have, but we saw it last a long time in the hotel.
Right. Well, if they're out on the water, the intention is probably to go far
that it
enough
won't
out
hurt
they can't hurt anybody else.
But the problem is, how long would that go before the seizure ends?
You're right, though. It was like just this pipe dream, or this way of grasping.
Like that was never going to work.
They would have to have the medicine because they were also in the original plan. What's his face would be on the boat.
Caliban would be on the boat
too,
and
he
I guess
can't
they
deal
would
with
meet
it.
back up with them. Yeah, but he couldn't meet with them, or he couldn't deal with the sun either.
Right. So it would have been. Like, that's your first hint that they're not getting this.
Yes.
Like, it's not getting to the boat.
There's no boat.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I had that up there.
There is no spook.
There is no spook. That was what I was saying. Is I got this very Of Mice and Men.
Yeah, no, that's a cool little way of looking at it. I like that a lot.
But how emotional was that when he says, well, there's water.
Yeah.
And he couldn't say anything more, but it's like, and then he beats the shit out of his truck with
that was
shovel.
great.
Like, yeah,
that was actually that was probably one of the most tremendous acting scenes in that movie for him. Like where he rips it apart and like just collapses to the ground, and I bought every second of it.
Yes.
Like I totally feel you right now.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And then she steals the truck and drives it to the hospital.
And you could see, like, she didn't park the truck. She crashed it on the curb.
Yeah.
Like, the tires are up on the curb. And no one has a problem with this. In the middle of Main Street of this little town, like, no one cares that this truck...
As they're storming back to the truck, and he's like, you can't just take things.
Even though they've been taking things the whole movie.
Like when he took the charger at the store, then he also grabbed like a handful of cigars.
Yes.
Even though like he didn't smoke them at all in the movie, just the fact that he did it, I thought that was.
Well, I also kind of got as like that idea of that he knows he's dying, and it's like his like the light him up like your last smoke type of thing, like fuck.
But he always has a cigar.
I've been living. Well, no, that's true, but it's like the whole point of like I've been living my way. Like I've been living to try and preserve myself for this long to like keep like Charles alive, and fuck it, I'm going out now. You know what I mean? Like I'm going out my way. Like I'm gonna indulge again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna fucking smoke cigars. 'Cause I love smoking cigars. You know, like that's what I'm doing.
The other thing that took me a little bit to fully grasp was that the adamantium was what was poison. Like was
See,
the poison.
I set onto that pretty early on, even though like it took a while for them. They never said it. Although
he does.
You know.
He says this poison at one point, referring to his claws.
Well, he says, I got poison inside me.
Yeah.
But
and you assume that,
but like we don't know. But
they do play it off as almost as a cancer in a way, the way that with the coughing up the blood and all. Yeah, it's Wolverine cancer. But the whole also the bullet. So early on, the adamantium bullet, which is like the symbol of Logan's death the entire time, like the adamantium
the specter
bullet,
of death hanging over him.
is what's interesting about that is like I'm looking at it and not fully grasping at that point that the adamantium is poisoning him. Is the adamantium is actually killing him? At that point, I'm like, is it? I was like, yeah. But if he shoots, does he have this bullet so that it can actually penetrate his skull? Because if so, isn't his brain just will end up just healing itself? I didn't know that, but then it's like it's kind of two-sided. One, it'll scramble his brain, and two, it's adamantium, so poison all that, and in his hopes,
maybe
kill
it'll speed it up. I don't know.
Just get him out.
You're right. It was a kind of a good point, like that whole like full circle, like dust to dust thing, where it's like the adamantium made me who I am, but ultimately it'll be my undoing as well, right? It's the direct cause of this illness and this long, long descent into my own death that I've been seeing for years, and here it finally is right around the corner.
Right. But then when that bullet gets used.
Oh, yeah. And you knew it was coming eventually.
I was like,
just,
oh, yeah.
Who takes the shot?
Yeah.
Where exactly? What's the run-up? Are we going to get a dramatic, like, look down the brow? Bam!
Yeah.
No, skull, quarter of his skull is gone.
Yep.
Like,
all I could think about was during that, like the realistic side of me was like, "Oh man, if she misses this shot, this movie ends in a real different way."
Wait, is this going to end darker?
Oh God, no! He killed everyone. Oh man, but yeah, solid flick.
Yeah, man, definitely. That was an excellent movie, and if you were weirdly listening to this and haven't seen it already, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Go see it.
Turn this off and go watch the movie. Yeah.
All right. Well, that has been episode 2 of Flix and a Six, a Spin Tune production. Check out spintune.com to catch a new episode every Monday and a new article every Thursday. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can reach us at The Spin Tune on Twitter and Facebook, or email thespinchoon@gmail.com. That's SPINCHOON. Thanks for tuning in.